G'day groovers and groovettes, welcome to my journey of getting implants, dental implants, which has been a long time coming. Always thought about it, didn't know what was going to ever happen, but I got it done. And the reason why is because my teeth were failing. Not through bad hygiene or not going to the dentist, because I was in and out of dentists, for years, Been kicked in the face playing football. Had to get a root canal, so I had a grey tooth. My teeth were failing. There was no way around it. Good British stock. There's nothing you can do about it. Shit teeth. They were growing in bloody different directions, and I was breaking simply doing stuff. And I don't drink Coke, and I don't do stuff with when I say do stuff, don't eat sugary stuff and stuff like that. So I tried my best to look after my teeth, and I'm quite surprised I got the amount of time out of them that I did. Right, but it got to the point there where I had to do something about it. They were talking about crowns and all this sort of stuff, and they said, we don't know how long it'll last because your teeth aren't in good shape and they'll just crumble and fall out. It's the last thing you want to hear. So I had to do the deep dive. All right, here's a photo of what my teeth look like. All right, that's with me mate from work, right? But let's have a little bit of a closer look. Hey, not pretty. Hey, it looks like an oyster loose at low tide. Not pretty. Horrible. I hated them. I was embarrassed by them all the time. Like I do a bit of TAFE teaching and stuff like that, and part-time. And I've got to get up and talk in front of people. I'm paranoid. I did a set of videos for the meat industry, and I had to do the whole thing, being protective of my mouth and trying not to smile. But now I can go, which is a big difference. All right, now I'll get into it. They're super white, I understand, but I'll get into it in a sec. Right. So that was the reason, right? Because my teeth were failing. They were growing in odd angles. I had no teeth left down this side of my face. I had a bit of a sag on that side. And I was down to 2 molars left, and one was starting to fail. If that did, I was left with only my teeth at the front, and you cannot live with just front teeth. I know. But I had to do something about it. And I looked after them, and I did everything possible. But guess what? They fucking gave up on me. So I had to do something. So implants was where I come to. I jumped online and I did the deep dive and went into what the options were for me. Right, there's dentures. Didn't want them. Did not want dentures. And was an option. Didn't want them. A cheap option. Probably do the same job. No people have got them at my age. I'm 53, nearly 54. So I don't know if I wanted dentures at my age. I know it seems vain as anything, but I didn't want them. Then there was snap-on dentures, which was like you can put them in and you snap them out again. I don't know about that either. So deep dive further into YouTube and found All-On-4, an Australian mob. They're also registered thing, right, trademarked, right? So, and they've got probably a really good YouTube advertising of what they do and how they do it, and before and after photos and all that. I said, oh laddie, that's for me. And I jumped on it and went, right. And like everyone else, I want to know what the cost was. Right, so I organised for an appointment with them. So I went down to Sydney and down in Double Bay, of all places, like one of the richest places in Australia, and went down there for a consultation, and they gave me a quote on how much it was going to cost. Now this was going to be the kicker. So just hold on. Right, so I went down there and did all that, and this is what we can do and all that, and I said, right, it was pretty close to what was on YouTube, and I went, yeah, right, I get it, and they took all photos and this and that, and so it was a big deal. All right, so, we went through all that, and all right, so I come back home, which is 500 kilometres away, and just waited a couple of days until they put a quote together and sent it to me. This is probably the bit you've been looking for, the cost. Now let me tell you about the cost, which was a bit of I knew it was going to cost a lot. Like this is not a procedure like you can like get in a couple of fillings or something like that. This is a pretty big procedure, and I'll get into that in a sec, but I'll go through the costs first, and then I'll tell you why it was so expensive. Right, so I've just got this written down. Righto, so all in all, from where I stand today, was $72,000. Let that sink in. And I was willing to pay it. I just had to do something with my teeth, and I didn't want dentures. So that's how much it was going to cost. This is Australian dollars in Australia, and the reason I got it done in Australia is because we've got a pretty good safety net with our medical system, right? So if anything went wrong or something like that, or something went A-shaped, pear-shaped, I'm not far from a hospital. I can just go straight to a hospital and I can get sorted, right? Okay. Not that anything did, thank God. Probably because I'm young enough that nothing went wrong. Everything was cool. They were great. These were great. Right. So what do you get for $72,000? Right. So you got your upper and your lower jaw, right? So I've got 4 bolts into the lower jaw. I've got 5 into the top jaw, and then 2 rods that go in here to anchor them because of bone loss, anchored to the back of my jaw bone at the top, goes up, well, up into your sinuses. Does it hurt? You fucking better believe it. Don't last long, but first couple of days will be rough. Yeah, so that's what you get, and then you get a set of dentures. Now these are an acrylic on titanium, right? So they're pretty good, right? Right. So that's what you get for your money, right? So and then you got to pay. I know that advertising. It's pretty hard to tell you how much it's going to cost without you just going fuck. But it does. It makes sense when you go through the whole thing. And there's little add-ons, right? So because I had to get these things put up in here, an extra bolt in the front, it was an extra $7,500, right? On what they say it's going to cost. Right, and then you got to pay for your dentures, which is, you know, dentures or implants, all right, which all get bolted in, which is awesome. All right, that was $16,000. Right, and then you got to pay for your anaesthetist. All right, that was $7,000. And then there's workup fees and all this sort of stuff, and about $5,000 and all that. Comes to a total of $72,000. Not a lot of people have $72,000 just sitting around for a new set of teeth. Well, guess what? It's doable through your superannuation. And I know at the moment the government's doing this, you know, this huge thing about talking about superannuation. You've got 2 sides of the coin. You know, the Labor government saying yeah you can use it, and the others saying no, that you're going to need it when you retire. Well, guess what? I couldn't wait any longer. I could have got this same procedure when I retired, when I'm 67, right, in 13 years' time, or I could get it done now while my health is okay. And the health benefits, because you've got rotten teeth in your face, you know, it's going to be detrimental to your health. Right, so I was young enough to be able to get that done, right, and the way I did it was through using my super. There was no way I was going to do it any other way. I used a mob called Access My Super. Just jump online, and they're there. They take you through all the steps and all that. It cost you $700, but I tell you what, it was worth it, right? It was $700, and if you can't access it, they don't take any money from you. Better still, righto? So there you go, $700 well spent, 72,000. All right, that's for these choppers, right? And then what's going to happen? They say that these can last between 5 to 7 years. Then I've got to get another pair, right? Which you can go up to an upgrade, which is what is it? Zirconium metal with ceramic teeth. Right, and I felled them. Tell you what, you can eat steel with these things, right? Which is the next one up. But you know, these are the ones, which is not a bad thing because I can look at them now and say, this is how I want them a little bit changed, like I want them, as opposed to they sort of said this was going to be the best for me, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. This is why I got my teeth back from when I was like 16. Yeah, so I can, you know, I can look at the colours that I want. The material I want, how I want them to do. I can get just another set of these if I want, or I can go up to the better grade, and they can last probably 20 years. So that'll see me out. Like I can't see myself living past 85, 90. or do I want to? Yeah. All right, so yeah, so it is worth it. Now, let me tell you about how they do it, right? Well, the procedure that I went through to get to these, right? So I went in with me bad choppers and I was met by the anaesthetist. New teeth, hard to say. Probably would have trouble saying it without these teeth anyway. So I met the anaesthetist. We went through a few things. You know, I had to have a medical beforehand. And it's fair enough because you're going under the knife for, I think it was under for 5 hours. You know what I mean? So, and I had to remove 18 teeth. 18 teeth were taken out. So they cut it all open, get back there. You know, I really couldn't tell you exactly what happened. I was knocked out, of course. But then I woke up 5 hours later, and I had all the pins hanging out, and they put these little rubber stoppers on them. Not that they won't touch, because your jaw's never gone past what it has to, right? So you're just like that. And because I got it done on a Friday, I couldn't get me temporary tooth until the Monday. So I had Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning until I got my temporary tooth, right? So 4 days with no tooth. Here's a photo of what I look like with no teeth. So as you can see, your face blows up. As you can imagine, they've removed all your teeth. So there's going to be a bit of swelling. I know, I look like a pufferfish. And probably look about 80, right? So I come out of that, and I've got no teeth, and I've got these little rubber stoppers where the bolts are and all that, and you know, and face blown up, and I'm spitting blood, as you can imagine, like, because they cut it out, they take all the teeth out, and then they stitch it all back up. Right, so I had a couple of days, no teeth, anything. Stayed down in Sydney in a hotel. Lucky I had my partner with me. She really looked after me. Yeah, kudos to her too. And made sure I had everything. Not that I needed much, I just sat there and watched TV. I was in a nice hotel and, you know, all the bits and pieces around. Just eating yogurt and cups of soup. Yeah, so really soft stuff you could just sort of digest. A couple of protein shakes, stuff like that. Because I was a bit worried about losing a lot of weight for it, you know, which in turn is not good for your health, right? Right, so I tried to keep it up, a lot of yogurt, you know, so yeah, it was okay. And then come Monday, went in, and bang, they put in these teeth. These were my temporary teeth for a week, right? Well, they made up my other ones. Now, what they do is because you've got the bolts on, and they push up against the top of the gum, and then as it heals flat. And it's not like a mouth guard, like a football mouth guard that goes around your actual gum line. It sits flat and it levels everything out. Weirdest feeling, top and bottom, right? So bang, next thing you know, Monday, I've got this new set of choppers, right? They're just milled, whatever they are, just super nasty looking things, right? And they went in there, but they were, okay. You know, that was sort of roughly where I wanted. I've got to admit, I looked at them and went, not too bad at all, actually, right. So I come back home, just sit around and do nothing. And you have to. You've got to let your mouth heal. Right, makes sense, right? Okay, so I did all that and I did the week. Then I had to go back to Sydney a week later to get my teeth, right? And they put the new ones in and went, okay. I was in Double Bay, right? I walked past Richard Clapton. I don't know if you know Richard Clapton. I walked past him and went, fucking hell, I am in Double Bay. There's Maseratis and Lamborghinis up and down the street. This bloke, he pulled up, right, in a Bentley convertible with a little dog on his lap. Oh, God, here we go. And he's going to do a reverse park. I went, oh, this will be good. Nailed it. Oh, all right. Anyway, side story. Right, so I went down there, got my new tooth, finished it all up. I was only in there for about 20 minutes. I said, all right, we'll see you in a month's time and we'll see how you're going. Right, and I'm feeling pretty good, still a bit painy, because I had endones for the first couple of weeks, then went on to just Panadols, and I haven't had Panadol, it's week 4 now. Yeah, I've stopped taking Panadol, so the pain's gone away and everything's cool. It's all settled down, so it took about 4 weeks. Right, and now I'm good. Right, yeah, so that was that, and then they'd come home. Now, there's only one thing I have a gripe about, and that is the colour. a little bit too white, as I call it, it's double bay white, or is it just the rest of society hasn't caught up to white teeth? Because you see people with, like implants, not implants, veneers and all that, and they get all that done. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, end up with the same white smile. I've got new teeth. Whoa. Right, so now comes to the time you're cleaning. Like, it's just not a set and forget proposition. Like, you think, I've got implants, they're like false teeth. Mate, I tell you, you do get a lot of stuff caught under it. That's just, you can't do anything about it. You've got to rinse your mouth out after every time you eat. And so you should, right? Otherwise you get stuff caught up. Right, so then you've got to, there's all different types of rinses you can use. But you've got to use a real soft toothbrush to start off with. You can never go back to an electric toothbrush, and nor do you need to. Right, you still got to go to the dentist every 6 months or whatever you do. Go and get a full clean. Can't use a water pick. They call it a water pick. It sprays water and gets any crap that might be lodged underneath. So you've got to sort of be careful with seeds and stuff like that. Right, so one of the things that an Australian designed and bought is this thing, right? It's just a thing, right? And it's got, I don't know if you can see that. Right, it's just like that, and it goes in, up over the top. You pull it out, give it right, and then that's how you floss with this little puppy. That's a weird sensation, but well worth it. Oh, you don't do it just because you've got implants. You can do it with just normal teeth, and it's just better than using that other shit. Right, so you still got to look after them, right? So, and you pay a lot of money, you want to look after them too, right? So, yeah, so that's my journey on my All-On-4 teeth. Oh, and you've got to learn to smile again. I never smiled a lot before, and I think I had, like, my top lip never really worked because I just never smiled. And now I can. How cool is that?